Welcome to the Sunriver Anglers Fly Tying Corner for this month. I'm going to tie a Callibaetis Parachute. This is a fly I use a lot on East Lake and Hosmer and Crane Prairie and others during our prolific Callibaetis hatches in the early part of summer here in Central Oregon. This is a pattern I use in tandem with perhaps a cripple or a spinner pattern. But this is one of my go-to Callibaetis patterns, and I pull this one out of my box routinely as the Callibaetis hatch gets going on our local lakes. So let's review the materials list for this fly. For a hook, I'm going to use a Firehole 419 in size 14. For the thread, I'm going to use Vivus 14-aught in brown. For the wing, I'm going to use natural mule deer. For the tail, I'm going to take some fibers off a spade hackle of a whiting Coq de Leon in light Pardo. The spade hackles are those along the edge of the neck, right out on the side, where the longest, stiffest barbs are located. For the abdomen, I'm going to use one barb out of the eye of a peacock feather, and I'm going to erase all the barbules off the barb of this feather to create a quill that I can wrap around the abdomen. And I'm also going to coat this with a UV clear coat to give it a nice finish. For the thorax, I'm going to use a blend of 75% Callibaetis Superfine and 25% Callibaetis UV dubbing. And lastly, for the hackle, I've got a whiting dry fly saddle in grizzly dyed dun. So let's get started with this pattern. I'm going to tie on the thread right at the 2/3 point of the hook. Tying it on right at the 2/3 point is important because we need to set proportions immediately on a dry fly so that it fishes correctly. I'll go ahead and clip off a bundle of deer hair, and I'm going to attach that to the hook right at the wing set position and go ahead and clip off the excess. And then I'll jump in front of the wing and take some wraps to prop that wing upright, and then I'll post the wing into an upright position with a number of thread wraps going up the wing. From here, I've taken about 8 or 10 barbs off of a spade hackle, and I'll pre-trim them for length and then tie them on right at the back of that bump for the thorax. And I'll tie that back to the tail set position, one wrap underneath the tail, and wind that forward. Next, I need to prepare my peacock barb, and I'm going to take a pencil and an eraser, and I'm literally going to erase the barbules off the barb to make for a nice peacock quill that I can then wrap for the abdomen. So I'll tie this peacock quill on with the tip in first nearest the tail. Wind that back to the tail set and then come back up to just behind the wing set. And I'll begin winding this in consecutive wraps all the way up to the wing and make that nice segmented body, a nice look for a peacock quill body. You can really see the segmentation appear as I wind each wrap coming forward on the hook. Next, I'm going to take my UV resin and coat this body very lightly. This is a UV thin resin, and I'll go ahead and use my bodkin or the tip of the applicator to spread it over uniformly over the abdomen area. And when I finish that, I'll grab my UV light and cure it with just a few seconds of UV light on the top and the underside of the abdomen. Next, I've got my dubbing blend, and I'm going to take just a skosh of this dubbing blend and wind it onto the thread and go ahead and wrap the thorax area behind the wing. Now I've taken and prepared my saddle hackle by stripping off some barbs off the stem, and I'm going to go ahead and tie that in with the dubbing blend right in front of the wing. I'm going to tie this in with the shiny side facing upward and the dull side facing downward. This is a matter of preference, of course. But we'll tie this in, wind the dubbing all the way up to the head position, and then I can drop immediately into winding that saddle hackle around the parachute wing. And I'll start with one wrap right toward the top of the thread wraps that I have on the wing, and each wrap I'm going to drop underneath the wing and continue wrapping about 4 to maybe even 5 wraps of the hackle around this wing, each wrap being underneath the preceding wrap. And when I reach the end, I'll go ahead and tie this off and trim the excess, and then do a little bit of cleanup around the head. So let me take the finished fly and rotate it around in the vise. You can see the top side and the underside of this completed parachute Callibaetis mayfly. So that has been your Sunriver Anglers Fly Tying Corner for this month. I hope you'll give the Callibaetis Parachute a try. And if you like what you've seen, please visit us at www.sunriveranglers.org or like our page on Facebook at Sunriver Anglers. Thanks for watching.